Hi everybody, Nick Jakes here. Thank you so much for joining me with the presentation of competition, connected competition that inspires action. A big thank you to Mike Bell for inviting me to be part of It's My Game 2. I was very privileged to be part of It's My Game 1, so I'm just as privileged to be part of the It's My Game Conference 2. So thank you very much for that. A little bit about me to start with. I don't want to talk about myself, but I feel like I should, just in case you don't know who I am. I'm a father of two beautiful girls, Ava and Arabella, and a beautiful wife, Alice, and a beautiful little dog called Toby, who's 10 years old. Ava's 9 years old. She turned 9 2 days ago. Arabella is 3. And I won't tell you the age of my wife because she will be very offended and we don't need to go there. So my work, I've been coaching for 26 years. I worked for Wimbledon and the LTA in talent identification. I worked for numerous high performance centers in the UK, where I was solely responsible for the under 10s. I now work for the Albany Tennis Park as the tennis manager. Again, the majority of my work is under 10s. I do a little bit over the 10-year-old age group, but majority of my work is under 10s because that's my passion. That's where I enjoy coaching the most. I've got a fantastic team at the Albany Tennis Park at the moment. We've got Chinese, Korean, Russian, Kiwi, and English. So we've got a real diverse range of knowledgeable coaches there. So I really enjoy working with those guys and helping them with their tennis journey also. So the objectives for today is why competition is essential, which is going to be, it's going to be tough to get all this in 30 minutes, but I'll do my best. So when and where to add competition to your program. Okay, so the competition doesn't have to be the last 10 minutes of a lesson, and it certainly doesn't have to be a one-off event or just a tournament by itself. So we're looking at when and where to add competition to your program. And then there's the pinnacle, the World Tour events. So everything leads up for the Albany Tennis Park and the Evolution programs. Everything is leading up to that World Tour event. So we're getting them all excited about it. We only do 6 a year. So when the events finish, it's very much like, when can I play? When's the next event? When's Beijing? When's New York? When's Melbourne? They really look forward to it. So we're going to talk about how that is very much a festival, and it's the most exciting part. So hopefully that inspires them to train and go out and practice, and we're going to get into all that now before I start. So why compete? Creating a training purpose for the kids. So kids need to know why they're doing something. So if they're just doing forehands and backhands and you're trying to make these pretty shapes, this is all fine, but with the kids, they need a purpose. So if you get the competition right, it adds real purpose to the kids program. If you get the competition wrong, they might be out the door. So it really is, like Mike Bell says very well, it's very much a tipping point. So you get the competition right, it adds real purpose. If you don't get the competition right, they might be out that exit door as quickly as they came. So we will talk a little bit about that as well as we get on. There's a more demand for lessons, encouraging two-timers. So the more they're playing in competition, then there's more relevance again. So there's a more demand for lessons because as they're playing in the matches, they'll start to go, you know what, I'm dissatisfied with the way I'm playing. Now we want them to be a little bit dissatisfied, not to the point where they don't want to play a game, but we want them to feel like there's things that they need to work on. They need to understand the game a little bit better. So obviously the tactics are the what and the technique is the how. So when they start talking about technique, hopefully it's because they want to tactically play better. They want to play the game better. And that's what competition does. So it demands more lessons. Okay, so now I want to do a second lesson possibly. Or I want to get out on the practice court. Match competence, so more time spent at the club. So we just touched on that then, but the better they get at playing matches, the more time they want to spend out practicing with mum, dad, kids in their group, hitting against the wall, but they're just at the club. And the more the kids hang around the club, the more vibrant the club or centre becomes. And it creates that culture and it creates that environment where it looks like the place to be. Enhance the reputation of the club. So if you've got kids playing in events externally, and they play great tennis, and they're well behaved. This is a big part of it, and possibly they're winning a lot as well. People like parents are going, "Hey, your kid's so good. Where do they play?" And you tell them where they play. That word of mouth will spread pretty quickly. So if you're doing lessons and there's no competition and the kids are not getting out there showcasing their skills, then is that really going to enhance the reputation of the club? And creating purpose for the coach as well. The coach needs to be motivated. The coach needs purpose. Why is the coach teaching in this way? Why is the coach teaching this certain type of skill? Sometimes it just gives a bit of a reality check for the coach as well. Like, get your kids playing, so it creates more purpose for me as well. Let's have a look at how to incorporate competition into the lessons. Okay, so let's start with compete from the very start. So why not add competition to the warm-up? Why wait to the end of the lesson? Why can't we do it in the warm-up? Often kids want, why am I doing this? Like, I'm doing these butt kicks, I'm doing these high knees, I'm doing these side shuffles, I'm doing these type of movements, but what do I get out of it? Like, how do I win? So sometimes the kids, they want some kind of like achievement, just like video games do. What do I get from that? So we're going to look at that very shortly. Compete as a team to achieve the basics. So again, you want your kids to do the basics. You want to do the basic skills like contact out in front, rallying in the box, for example, or learning how to serve and hit a third shot of the rally. You can get them working as a team in a competitive environment just to get them to do the basics. So it's kind of hiding the vegetables in a way, isn't it? And use gamification to motivate them. So gamification is using gaming ideas and using the gaming industry to try and get them excited about doing the exercises that you're excited about, because they might not initially be excited about this particular exercise at the start, but if you can gamify it, that can really excite the competition as well. So let's have a look at a couple of clips of a concept of snakes and ladders. Most of us know what snakes and ladders is, but we get them into teams in the warm-up, and we're just getting them to achieve certain tasks. And if they can achieve that task, they roll the dice and they do a move for the team. So here's a basic dictator reactive movement. So one of them is moving inside those white lines. Once they go, the other person has to follow and try and win the race. Now we're getting into squats, doing orientation above the head. They're all competing for the roll of the dice. These guys are like, look how fast they're going. They're so pumped just to simply roll a dice to hopefully go up a ladder and avoid a snake. And here's a little bit of forward and backward movement again. Parents will thank me later. Whoops, my daughter's working on a basic balance there. They can thank me later for what this also does is, look, she's picking up the ball, she's putting it back, she's tidying up after herself. It's fantastic because she's working as a team, because she wants the next player to quickly go so they can get a point. She's excited because they've just got another roll of the dice. And she puts it back because, Ava should have done that. She's done it herself because she wants to get on with it. She wants to roll the dice. So, really, really inspires them, just simply making everything competitive from the very start is creating this message to the kids that, hey, you guys are here to compete, and competing is healthy. It's not something you have to fear, and you can coach them through that as well. Here's another exercise here where they've got to use a chopper grip and they've got to bounce the ball into their own side. They can be as creative as they want. If you end up on the top two courts, or it could be the top two boxes, you get to roll the dice for your team. So for example, if your whole team ends up at the top, they all get to roll the dice. And here, we're obviously developing what can be quite boring sometimes, is working on that chopper grip, getting ready for the serve and the volleys. And here's a little game where they go, if they win, they go up. If they lose, they go down. And like I said, the top four get to spin. Here's a cooperative exercise. Avoid the idle box hitting. So you could get them hitting in the box and the board is anything. But here, to roll the dice, they have to have a rally of 10 where both feet are on the ground when they strike the ball, and the contact has to be waist height. So there's a real technical element there as well. So we're getting to compete, but trying to get some good habits in there as well. 2 feet on the ground, waist height contact. If they get a rally of 10, that they get to roll the dice for the team. And here's young Ethan's getting a roll of 4. Here we go, serve and return, serve, return, third shot of the rally, catch, there's a point. If they can get a set of 3, again, they get to roll the dice for their team. So in this case, they're a team of 2. There could be multiple teams throughout the session as well. Okay, so here's another way we can get the kids to compete, and they can get them to compete at home. So we did the lesson. Now we're going to look at practice. How can we get these kids competing at home? I'm just going to have a quick look at the time. There we're going. Okay, so challenge tour is absolutely imperative in my opinion. And I'm probably saying this as a very biased. My daughter a year ago had very little interest in tennis. She kind of liked it, but she wasn't really into it. And it turns out that she just didn't feel she was that good. And at home, she got to compete against herself. And through developing her own skills at her own pace, she started to get more and more confident. She wasn't comparing herself to anybody else like she was prior to the challenge tour. And now she's very much like, you know what, I feel like I'm good, I've got these skills, and now I can't wait to go to the lessons. So she's more motivated to go to the lessons. But this is a competition as well. But it's a competition very much around a personal best climate. So let's have a look at compete versus the self, which is what the challenge tour does. It's a personal best climate. Now, I come from a swimming background. So the PB, the personal best, was everything. So this is very easy for me to understand. A lot of the young kids, when they're competing against somebody else, or they're looking to compare. But in this case, this is a chance where they can go away, they can work on their skills, and they can just focus on what they can control, and that's their own performance. And that will then hopefully stem into when they do go into battle against somebody else, they've learned this behavior of, I'm just focused on what I can do. I can't control the outcome, but I can control my own performance. They can measure their own success as well, which is very, very motivating. So when I show you the passport, the card that they get to measure their own success, and they can see. It's very hard to measure your own success in tennis sometimes. You know, I could play the game of my life and lose. I know that, and hopefully we can teach the kids that that's just normal. But with the challenge tour, it's really easy to measure their own success because they just beat their own score. Build skills that allow you to compete better in the actual game. Okay, so going back to my daughter, for example, she was building these skills in her own house. Well, not her own house, it's my house. What's my wife's house in her house? But she believes it's her own house, so that's okay. And she's developing skills at home where no one's going to judge her, no one's going to see her make a mistake. So in that respect, it's okay for a while. Obviously, I want her to feel okay that she's making mistakes in front of other people as well, but she's learning at her own pace. And that was a big part of it. That was a huge part of it. And it's a huge part, not just for my daughter, for all the kids. The feedback is very consistent around this. And here's a little scorecard again. I won't, time-wise, I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but there's a qualifying round where they get to learn about the games. So in this case, it's Madrid, so they get to learn a little bit about the culture of Madrid. Could be food, could be a little bit about the event, and so on. And then they go into the semifinals where the points are worth a bit more. They go from, first round they have 3 exercises, and then they go into the semifinals where there's 2 exercises, where the value of the points is higher. And then in the final, they get to try and compete against the coach. So another competitive element. Now it's try and beat the coach. And we all know that kids love to try and beat the coach. As I get older and slower, this tends to happen a lot more against me, unfortunately. And here's a quick video of some of the exercises here that Ava's been doing, just to give you a little bit of a visual, because I'm a big visual learner. So hopefully from these videos, you can kind of see and get a bit of a feeling for it. I apologize for the mess in the background, but here's a little bit of bilateral coordination, which again, that's a shock at the end there. But look at the level of focus. You know, there's no, I mean, she knows I'm filming here, but there's no real pressure here. It's just about what can I do? You know, can I find the ball? Can I create a diverse range of skills? What was my last score? Okay, I got 6. Right, I'm going to go for 7. And then when she gets to 7, right, I'm going to go for 12. I'm going to go for 13. I'm just not going to stop. And then you have a break, and then you get frustrated, and you make loads of mistakes, and you get angry, and it's all normal. And then we go, okay, let's stop. You know, this is not a lesson. This is in your own time. Stop. Go and watch a movie, or let's go and play a different game of some sort where we just play together. It could be, snakes and ladders or something like that. And we leave it, and then we come back to it and go, right, are you ready to battle against yourself again? Do you want another crack at it? And she's like, yeah, okay, let's go. I'm not feeling a stress anymore. I want to have another go. So there's nothing wrong with stress. They're going to get a bit anxious when they can't do it, and they're going to get frustrated. But we've got to. It's coaching moments for us to try and help them through that and say, look, you're battling against yourself. You're trying to get comfortable in your own skin. You're trying to find ways to do it. And there is zero coaching for me here. This is purely intrinsic. We're trying to create that intrinsic motivation where I don't need to tell her how to do this stuff. Naturally, on many occasions, she said, how do I do this? How do I do that? I hold back as much as I can. And then obviously, I'll jump in if I really need to. We have a lot of fun doing this as well. Now, you might go, why on earth is your 2-year-old doing roly-polies here? But this challenge tour inspired my 2-year-old to do roly-polies. I kid you not. She's watching Ava and she's inspired by her efforts and the amount of time she's putting into anything. So she starts going, well, I can't do that, but watch me. I can do roly-polies and act like a crazy person. So Ava's starting to learn that the effects of her being a role model through the challenge tours. This is all driven from competition once again. It's not driven from a lesson, it's a competition. So let's look at how we can compete on a practice court. So connecting lessons to practice. So what we have here at Albany and a lot of the evolution clubs, I'm sure do it as well, where during the lessons, if they perform very well in the lessons, they earn warrior cards. Now these warrior cards are used in the practice sessions to give them a better chance of winning. So they've earned these cards, and we're going to get into the cards in a second, so I won't spend too much time on that. It's also a chance to do a bit of team tennis as well. We can get the kids connecting and playing together and organizing their own teams. Dealing with adversity, so they'll have issues with line calls and they'll have problems with scores. I instruct the parents. I go around and say, please leave them alone. Just let them get on with it. And if I need to jump in, I will. But very rarely I do. And they quite often sort these problems out themselves. Very rarely do I need to actually jump in. And they create their own games at the end as well. So they're competing in tennis, and I'm structuring it in the way that we're using warrior cards and hero cards, which we'll get into. But also at the end, they just play just silly little games by themselves as well and have a bit of fun doing it. And that's the social aspect. Won't spend too much time on this because me and anybody from the evolution team can help you out with this. So you've got the hero cards there, which is like role play. So on the card, they have certain skills like forehand, energy, backhand, and if it's green, then you get double points if you can achieve that particular role. So if it's the forehand, if you win off the forehand, you get double points and so on. And down here, we have the wild cards. So like I said, if the kids perform very well in the lesson, I'll go, they might get 5 or 6 cards during the lesson, and they get to pick one out and use one in their match to give them a better chance of winning. So it's all a lot of fun. And here's a little picture of a typical Court Warrior session. We get up as many as about 26, I think the most we've ever had, and I think there's about 13 or 14. I love this photo because on the left, I have a huge respect for this girl. She's now 15. I've been coaching her for about 8 years, and she originally did this type of thing. She was involved in a program very, very similar, but it was nowhere near as good. And she even made a comment to me saying, oh, look, we did all this stuff, but geez, it's so much better than when I was doing it. I'm like, yeah, but we've evolved, it's normal. And hopefully these kids will say the same thing when they get to your age. They'll go, hey, we had such an awesome time, but man, it's so much better now. But in this case, this is so good to see that Hannah is now giving back to these kids in the same program that she came through, very similar program. Let's look at the world tour now. I'm just hoping that I'm not going to time. I'm okay. Here's the world tour. Now this is the pinnacle. This is everything that they're leading up to. So they're learning all these skills through challenge tour, the lessons, the practices, and they're building up all these skills for the big event that we try and make a real spectacle. That's super exciting. And they're all themed, just like the challenge tour was, it's all themed. So they learn a little bit about that there's actually, in the world, there's actually a real world tour. We try and play them we try and make the event at a similar time as the actual world tours that are going on. So they're almost having like a pretend world tour. So it's so exciting. And also then that inspires them to go and watch telly on TV and go, okay, well, I just played in the Melbourne, now I'm watching the Aussie Open, or I'm just watching the Rome, now I'm watching the Rome Masters, or I was playing in Paris and now I'm watching the French Open. So it's just, especially New Zealand being a very small country, it really works because a lot of the time they don't get as much exposure to these big tournaments. So we're kind of bringing it to them. And here's a little bit of the beginning is absolutely critical to get the beginning right. Kids are going to turn up a little bit anxious, a little bit apprehensive, especially for their first event. So we've got to make the beginning super high octane and really exciting. Everyone's involved, everyone's engaged, and they are getting that message that you guys are here to learn and compete and research. So let's have a look at it. So this is the typical setup. Get everything ready. We've got the scorecards, we've got the stickers, we've got the wristbands, we've got the flags, we've got the pebbles, which I'll get into. We've got the prizes out there. They come into this and they go, whoa, we've got the teams. So I put all the kids into certain teams based on their competence level. So the teams by the end of it are always quite close, and we have two big vases, or however you want to say it. And every time, even in the warm-up here, so basically this is the Rome event, and here's the gladiator den where they're acting like animals, and we're the gladiators knocking them down. And when I hit them once, they have to hop on one leg. And here's a little horse race as well. It's escaped me. It's called a chariot, I think it's called. And so they're pulling each other again. Fundamental movement skills involved. Here's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Again, this is part of the Rome event. So now they've got to be creative. They've got to try and create the highest structure. The reason why I did this because it was really windy outside. So it was very hard to make a structure without it falling down. So it gets them a bit of creative thinking. So there's so much going on in that, in the beginning part of it. You know, we want them to feel comfortable. We want them to learn fundamental movement skills because we know that's important. We want them to be engaged in the warm-up. We get them into teams. Where prior to the event, I've got half and half, so you'll have the stronger players in the same team as some of the weaker players. So by the time we get to the end of the event, the team is pretty close. So they get winner certificates and they get runners-up certificates. So everybody goes home with something because they were part of something. No one goes home going, I wasn't part of this. Yeah, and also what we do is what we can't see in there, and hopefully some of the pictures I can actually. Let's go through the on-court here. So the red format is typically 60 to 9 minutes in duration. The team event, team skill competition, short tiebreakers, and a lot of support on the scoring, normally using pegs and lots of different things. The orange format is 2 to 2.5 hours. It's more specific awards around development, round robin based. We have short tiebreakers and we have 15-minute matches and we incorporate doubles. The green format is a little bit longer and introducing sort of short sets, so more game scoring. Quite often we use time tennis and also doubles as well. Okay, off court, we designate one court just for games for the kids. So they play lots of games. It creates a social feeling to it. And it just, when they're coming off court, just take them away from it. They get to play these, they're still competing, but it takes them away from the stress of the matches as well. And it gives a chance to parents to play as well. So that the games court is a real big part of it. If you're not doing that already, I strongly recommend that you do. It just takes a lot of the edge out of it, and it gets them having a bit of fun with their friends just for 5 to 10 minutes by the off court. Encourage parents to join the games, provide food and drinks for the parents, which I'm going to show you a couple of images on that. Extra activities linked to the theme of the event. Some of the exercises you could see in that beginning, they were all based around the Rome. We had the gladiator, we had the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and we had the chariot race as well. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly scan through these pictures. So here is, we've got the ping pong table, which this is basically these 4 pictures on my right-hand side, the games court. So they've got here we've got the Rome, we've got Jenga. So again, it's kind of themed to Leaning Tower of Pisa. and they're playing the hero cards there as well. So the cards that we do in the practice, you can also do as an off-court activity. We've got ping pong, we've got games involving balloons, and we've got football, air hockey, and things like that as well. On the top left, here's the two sort of vase funnel type of things. Now everything is there's points for everything. So when you play in the game on the game court and you win, you can win pebbles. You play in the matches, you win pebbles. So let's say you win 10-7, you get 10 pebbles. The person who gets 7, get 7 pebbles. So you are rewarding them for winning matches as well. Great behavior on the court, good line calls, handshakes, everything around catching them being great. So catching them could be great, could be thanking the ref, thanking the players, anything around that. We reward literally everything. And down the bottom, you've got like art, where we did at Beijing, where they do the canvas drawings. We've got dumplings, we've got food. Now on the right-hand side, we did a little competition for the parents for a bit of fun. If they want to get some pebbles for the team to put in the funnel, you had to eat an Arnott's biscuit, which is a very famous Australian biscuit. And when you're eating it, you had to make it into the shape of Australia. And the person who got closest to the shape of Australia wins points for the team. So we're getting the parents laughing and having a lot of fun about it. The finishing, we do parent seminars. So we could be talking anything about what makes a great competitor, the car journey home, how you can support a court warrior, things that you could say, things that you maybe should avoid saying. So there's always a little presentation at the end as well. We give out team awards, like I said before. So the most pebbles, your team wins. So you're winning pebbles literally for everything, like winning the matches and so forth. We also have recognition awards. So we've got awards here like we've got Hot Shot Award for the best shot of the day. We've got Rookie Award for the most bravest newcomer. We have Best Competitor, and we have Most Improved Player. Now, Most Improved Player doesn't necessarily have to be in that event. Quite often it isn't. When I do the awards at the end, I will often talk about that the Most Improved Players actually through the last 6 weeks. So there's an event in the 6 weeks. How hard do they train for the next event? That's quite often how I work out the Most Improved Player. Here we have the group event, and we also have the group event winner. So we have individual winners as well. And when we give the presentations, we kind of try and theme it as much as we can. So over here, we've got on the left-hand side, we've got England, we've got the King giving the presentation, me showing off wearing my Wimbledon kit. On the top right-hand corner, we've got, we gave swords to the winner of the Rome event. We have a lot of fun doing this. It's really exciting, and often the kids will say, when's the next event? You know, and what we do is we give out flyers at the end, not flyers, actually posters of when the next event is. We also give out EKT medals, so this is also competitive. Everything that you compete in, the challenge tour that you compete in, the practice that you compete in the lessons that you compete in the world tour, everything gets recorded. So once you get 100 points, you get a silver medal, and it has your name on the back, and it says you're 100-point milestone. So it's kind of like air points. When you get 200 points, collect 200 points, you get a gold medal. When you collect 500 points, you get a T-shirt that that Bounce supplies, that a gaming app that does it. They're fantastic. If anyone wants to know more about Bounce, please ask me questions about that at the end as well. You get 500 points, you get a T-shirt that says I'm on 5, because you really are on 5. You've got 500 points. If you get 1,000 points but no one's got it yet, you get your name engraved on that giant trophy there that's left at the center. So again, it's creating that culture. It's like, and people walk in for the first time and go, oh my God, how do I get on that big trophy? It's like, well, you've got to get 1,000 points. And it's a topic of conversation always, and it's always about competition. And then people's perspectives start to change. It's like, well, competition is really healthy. Yeah, it can be. It really can be if you get it right. And at the end of a World Tour event, God, I've gone off topic a little bit here. Sorry about that. But this should actually be the slide before that. Well, it could be and it couldn't be, but actually those awards before this are actually given out at the World Tour event as well, to be honest. So the EKT point system, those awards, the 100, 200, 500,000, they actually get awarded at the World Tour prize giving. And after the prize giving, which is probably why I put the slide in here, is the social time. So they get to hang out with each other. They can still use the game courts if they want. They get to eat themed food. So, for example, the bottom right is the Melbourne, where we had a barbecue. The bottom left is Beijing. No, it's not. It's Rome, where they're eating pizza. The top right is Beijing, where we had dumplings and tea. And the top left is also Melbourne, where they're also enjoying food. And they sit together and they have these conversations, and they don't really talk about the matches, funny enough. They just talk about being kids, and it's just so good to see. And you've got the parents inside, and they have lots of chats as well. And quite often it really isn't about competition, because the competition is over. They look forward to the next one, and now they can just enjoy each other's company, which is a huge part of it. And when can I play next? Like I said, that's quite often a question that gets asked at the end. And you've got Lucy here on the left-hand side. So when they leave the World Tour event, they get a letter, a Dear Coach letter. And on there, it's a letter that's pre-written by the Evolution team. And they get to write there what they want to work on. And again, when we go right back to the beginning of the why compete, to give the coach more purpose and to give the player more purpose, there it is there. So they're both connecting, the coach and the player are connecting. They're looking at this letter, and they're, sometimes the coach might disagree and go, well, I actually saw you play, and I like what you've written there, but maybe what about this? What about that? And it creates coaching moments and discussions for building that relationship. Without that letter, they could just turn up, and you might just say, what do you want to work on today? And like, I don't know. Okay, so big part of it here. And on the right-hand side, this, for example, was the London event, and following the London event was the New York. So here, this is actually my daughter's letter, and then she's got the congratulations. She was the runner-up in the team. So that's what you leave with. On the right-hand side, that's what you leave with. So you've got your winner or your runner-up certificate. In this event, she obviously didn't win anything in regards to medals or anything like that, but she's pretty happy. She's got a letter that she writes to me. She's got the flyer of the next event, and she's got a certificate that she was involved in the event. So that concludes there's so much more we could go into, and I'm sorry if I was talking a little bit too quick. I'm just trying to get everything in 30 minutes. There's so much to cover, and I feel like I've covered some of the important stuff, but with this type of conference, obviously there's opportunity for you guys to ask questions to me. And obviously, I'm more than welcome to answer any of those questions, and I look forward to that. If you want to contact me directly before we do the locker room chat we've got here, I'm on Instagram and I'm also on Facebook. So please feel free to message me. And thank you again for your time. I hope my presentation has inspired you to add a few things in, or just add competition. So hopefully it comes in really handy, and enjoy all the other presentations that come, because you've got some fantastic speakers. And thanks again for listening, and I hope to see you all soon.